Whether the doctor told me I had a bipolar disorder or not, I still had it. So just having a professional say that, it's not like they're turning it on. It's already there.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, darling.
Oh my God, I can see your face.
I
And
know, but we're not
you're,
in person yet.
I know we're not in person yet. I don't know if everybody remembers, but last week my voice sounded a little funny.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I have to go back and listen. I think I was like, oh, just like my throat just feels funny.
Yeah.
Well, so that we recorded that on Sunday. No, or did we record it on Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
And then when I tell you, I had the devil himself come upon my body.
Oh, that's
And listen,
terrible.
guys, I got real sick. And on Tuesday, I was like, shoot. So I told my work, I was like, I'm going to work remotely. I'm not feeling my best. They were like, okay, well, like you have to take a COVID test. And I was like, okay.
Well, and then you were going to come and pick up my kids.
Yeah, I talked to you on video and you're like, are you still okay to pick up my kids? You sound horrible. And I was like, yeah, I really think like it was my throat and voice, but like I was still sort of like, oh, I think it's just, I don't know, it's just a cold. And then I was like, I'm just going to do a COVID test, but I'll be there to pick up your kids unless it's COVID. And we laughed. And then I took the test and it was like, I didn't even finish putting the 3 drops on the thing. And it was like, you have COVID.
It was like the most COVID you could have.
It was the most COVID I could have. And I've spent the last week on my deathbed. I have never been so sick. I couldn't talk. My ears hurt. My head hurt. There's just a lot going on. I lost my taste and smell, which is altogether very disappointing.
Is it back yet?
No. And it's like the weirdest thing because I can taste sweet and I don't even think I can taste spicy. It's just like I know that something is spicy because the sensation on my tongue tells me it's spicy, but I
That's so
can't.
fascinating to me.
Yeah. And then like sweet, I can't really necessarily taste the flavor. So like I go to eat something and it's like warm, like I had pizza and it was just like warm texture in my mouth, but no distinguishing flavor.
That's so
It's so
weird.
disappointing.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, do not recommend.
Ugh, I'm
And so
sorry.
many people were like, I thought you already had COVID. I had that sort of like weird inconclusive test around Christmas time. And so Alberta Health Services was like, well, you just have to assume it's COVID. And I was like,
Well,
okay.
and you were sick, right?
Yeah,
So,
like, yeah, that is nothing compared to this. I don't know what strain this is, but like 10 out of 10 do not recommend. One of the
no.
nights I was coughing so hard I got a nosebleed on and off for 3 hours. And then
Oh
one of
my
the nights I
gosh.
was coughing so hard I threw up.
Ugh.
And then one of the nights I've coughed so hard I peed a little.
Oh no.
It's just not great overall. And so today's like day 7 and I don't feel my best.
No, that sucks. I'm sorry.
And so I haven't even seen you in like 2 weeks.
You haven't seen my new
And I
house?
know you moved and I had to work and I felt like a jerk and I was like, I'm going to be there this week. I'm going to be helping. Then I got the COVID.
Yep.
How is week number?
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Oh God, ow. And every time I cough, my head hurts so much. Like I've had a solid headache for 7 days because I can't stop coughing long enough for like my head pressure to ease up.
Oh, that's
Anyway,
awful.
enough about me. How the heck are ya?
I am pretty good. That is all.
You've now been in your house for 1 week.
Yeah, we moved
And
this past weekend, like last weekend,
yeah,
and it was kind of crazy. It did not go as planned, but it's okay. We're sorted now and still unpacking, still
sorted now.
organizing.
You're goddamn thriving. You got invited to a party.
I did. I got invited to a party by one of my
Oh
neighbors.
my God.
I
Like, tell
know,
me
it's so
about
cute.
it.
Tell you about it?
Like, what happened? Tell
Oh.
the people.
So getting out of my car, my neighbor across the street was getting out of their car, and they had a puppy with like a little cone on its head because she just got neutered. And they were
Oh,
like, "Oh, are you our new neighbor?" And I introduced myself, and they introduced themselves, and then they said that there was a party around the corner for like a late Cinco de Mayo party on like today on Mother's Day. So they're like, "Bring the kids and come over and meet your neighbors." So I haven't
oh,
decided if
it's
I'm
like
coming
bring
yet,
the
but
kids and everything.
yeah.
I thought it was just like an adult party, like you were going to have to stumble home after.
Oh no.
I think you should go.
Yeah, I'll see. They didn't really tell me what time it was or anything, so I'm like, I'm kind of waiting to see if I like run into them again to kind of get like a
Right. Yeah.
better idea of what's going on.
I think you and your kids should dress up in your best Cinco de Mayo outfits, but not cultural appropriation, but like just like in the better way, and just
Yeah,
walk around the neighborhood with a bowl of salsa looking for a party.
looking for the party. I gotta like see if I could just smell the tacos and
Yeah.
find it. Yeah, but it's a really cute neighborhood and everyone seems really friendly and there's lots of like everyone's always walking and biking and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
That's nice. And you met your other neighbor on the other side, then they have kids?
yeah, just super short. She just kind of ran over and was like, "Do you have kids?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, bye."
Well, that's good though.
Yeah, she was really excited. I think one of her daughters is like my 7-year-old's age, and then I think one of them is the twins' age. So
Oh.
yeah,
I can now appreciate now, like Lindsay and I have moved in together. I would always see posts of parents being like, "Oh, the house next door is up for sale. I hope it's somebody with kids." And like,
yeah,
I just never appreciated how much you hope for like kids around the same age as your kids
yeah.
within like close by. Like whenever we're out, I'm like, "Oh my God, where do you think those kids live?" And I
Oh
want to
my
like follow
god,
and be like, "How old
let's
are you,
follow
kids?"
them.
Yeah, I want to introduce you to these other kids. Yeah, so that's great though. The anticipation is killing me. I can't wait to come see it.
I know. I'm excited for you to see it. It's
Yeah.
coming along.
Oh, that's so nice. But today we're recording and it's Mother's Day.
Mm.
And so tell me about your Mother's Day so far. How'd you wake up?
I woke up at 6 a.m. with an iPad to my ear,
Like,
very loudly.
can I?
Because
It was Jude, wasn't it?
yeah, Jude thought he could just like snuggle into my bed with an iPad blaring and like me not notice,
Yeah.
So I kicked him out. And then he came back a few more times. And then I was just like woken up randomly from children for all sorts of different reasons while I was trying to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's about it so far.
But did
And
they do anything for you?
they got me some like school stuff, like
Yeah.
school crafts and stuff. I got a little handprint back there from
Aw.
Claire Bear, and Jude made me one too. And Kate made me this cute little thing. It's like a cutout teapot, and then it's got a little pocket with like a tea bag in it. Well, that was pretty cute.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like this your older kids are at the age where their class doesn't really do anything
yeah,
anymore, but
no,
they're also too young to like I think have the initiative to like go do something about it. I
yeah,
know Lindsay's kids are the same where they're not doing anything in school for it, but they're too young to like how would they know Mother's Day's coming up? Like it
yeah. I'm
yeah,
trying really hard not to be passive aggressive. I'm trying really hard not to be like or like guilt trippy. Like,
right.
could
Yeah.
we maybe not fight because it's Mother's Day? Like I'm
I
trying.
think if there's a day to use it, I think today's the day.
Yeah, I know, but I also just don't want to be like, I don't know.
Do you want
It's
me to
funny because
text
I've
them?
seen a couple TikToks where it's like the passive aggressive mom on Mother's Day, and I was like, oh shit, is that what I sound like?
Oh. Oh no.
So I'm just gonna let it be a day, and
Yeah.
that's it.
I think if people listening have not already, they should go back and listen to our episode last year.
Yeah,
We did one called The Truth About Mother's Day. I think we very accurately sum up the sham that is Mother's Day.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the expectations are high and the delivery is low.
Yeah. Like across the board. I think
Yeah,
that's accurate. Well, that's great. What else can we talk about? We have a Patreon.
we do.
If anybody has never heard of us before, a Patreon is a $5 subscription service, and you get bonus episodes as a way of saying, like, thanks for supporting the work that we do. And we just launched one last week. We do 2 episodes a month. The one that we just released last week is about evil in laws.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, we talked about like monster-in-laws, but also evil sister-in-laws. And I should be clear, I'm not talking about anybody in my current family. I like Lindsay's family is amazing,
Oh
but
yeah,
I've had some past experiences, and we had Jody and Amanda from Everybody Hates to Love TV. Everybody Loves to Hate TV. They
I
had
thought
some
it was just
wild
everybody
stories.
hates TV.
We love to hate TV.
We love to hate TV. Okay, we'll get it
Yeah.
right one of these days.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so and we've got some pretty exciting Patreon content coming up, one of which might be your moving story.
Yeah, I think
Because
that would be a good one to kind of start from the beginning of all the drama. And
yeah, like you did not sign up for this.
no, it was the last thing that I wanted to do. Kind of my life.
Yeah. but I think it's going to be a good change for you
Yeah.
and a good, important change for your kids. And when I am not sick, then I'm only 10 minutes from you and I'll see you more.
I know. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's it. And this week, oh, you weren't even in this interview this week. So
Oh,
this
tell me about
episode,
it.
we talked to Theresa. Well, you're going to hear it in just a minute. And she is a repeat guest. So we had her
Oh,
on
yes.
like a few months ago to talk about coming out late in life as a lesbian. Then this week, we talk with her about her diagnosis and living with bipolar, which I think is really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited for you to hear it because there's like a few episodes where I made you take a break because you were moving. And so that's why you're not in this episode.
I know. It's so sad, but I'm happy to be back because we just recorded an episode together finally.
Yeah, this is the first one in a month, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. It was so nice to have you back.
I know. I feel like I was like,
Oh,
how do I do this again? But
yeah, you get back into it.
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoys this episode and we will talk more at the end of the show.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Good morning, Theresa.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm overtired, but I'm good.
I know you had mentioned before we started that you were tired and maybe a little hungover, which sounds like a great time.
Yes, it was a great time. Mostly tired, and it's my own bloody fault because I end up going, I end up going on TikTok and then go down these rabbit holes and just hours pass before I realize, oh my God, it's 1:30 a.m. and I have to be up
Yeah.
with my 5-year-old at 6:30.
Yeah, they don't care if you're tired. They're just going to wake up.
Oh, yes. And she loves to wake me up by turning all the lights in the room on first with no warning
Oh my.
and then jumping on top of me. So,
That's amazing. I have like a memory. I must have only been 4 or 5. And I remember walking into my mom's room and not believing if she was asleep or not. And so I physically opened her eyeballs, like her
what?
eyelids.
Oh
Like,
my
what a dick move, Carling.
God, that's
And I like, I
hilarious.
don't know if I did it more than once, but like it's just this like core memory burned into my mind when I was in
Wow.
Manitoba. Yeah, she
Oh,
must have
that's so
loved
funny.
it.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, well, that's great. I also realized I said good morning and it's like almost lunchtime for you there because we're a time difference.
Let's see. Oh no, it's still morning. It's only 11:15. Good
Yeah,
morning.
I
So,
guess so. It is good morning. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you again. We talked to you, I guess it was just about last year. Your original episode that we talked to you was number 98 back in January. But we decided in that episode that we just had to have you back because we could have chatted for hours and hours.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be back. It was super fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, for anybody who hasn't heard your episode, why don't we have you introduce yourself a little bit and then we'll kind of get into why we're chatting today.
Sure, sounds good. So, hello, my name's Teresa, and I'm 40 years old. I always thought I was bisexual because I guess I always assumed you had to be with a man. And I sort
Yeah.
of thought every woman has crushes on other women. We just go with men because that's what we're supposed to do. And then when my marriage ended, like 15 months ago or something, I realized that you can do this all without a man. All of it. You could
Yeah.
live and it
Arguably, it could even be enhanced.
yeah. Yeah, so that's me. I came out as a late in life lesbian. I'm a single mom to an incredible 5-year-old girl. Yeah, so I feel like I started a whole new book. I'm giving myself permission to learn who my authentic self is and to make mistakes along the way. And if stuff gets messy, then it does. But not letting myself be afraid of what consequences there could be. Like when I came out to my parents, I was a little bit nervous, but I was like, well, I know they love me, so I'm sure they're going to be fine with it. And if they're not, I'm going to
Aw,
just roll with the punches.
I love that. I remember in the first time we chatted, you had said it doesn't feel like you're starting a new chapter. You've closed that entire book and you're starting a new book. And I love that analogy because it does feel like you can put part of your life to bed and just start completely new.
Oh, 100%. That's it
Yeah.
exactly. And I have to be honest, I like this Teresa so much better than the old Theresa.
Do you ever find people that knew you before and knew you now, and they're like, "Oh, this seems more like you?"
I have, but mostly people don't put their finger on it quite right. They say that I
Mm,
seem a whole lot happier, which don't get
yeah.
me wrong, I am. I think they generally think that because my ex and I aren't together, that that is why I'm so happy. And I will be honest, it's a very big chunk of it, but
Yeah,
mostly it's since coming out, it's like everything feels lighter and the world feels more crisp and clear.
yeah.
Just lots of good
And I
stuff.
found everything felt easier, even the hard stuff, like, it just felt I don't know, some even the hard things felt easier for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So the original reason I reached out to you on TikTok was because you showed up on like a live feed and your username is "Don't worry, I'm medicated," and I laughed so hard and then looked into your profile and I was like, "Oh, she's also a late in life lesbian. That's great." Our first episode we talked about that, but I thought it would be so important to have its own episode dedicated to sort of like the history behind that username. And in your profile, you talk about having bipolar.
Yep.
I don't think we talk openly enough as a society about A, sexuality and B, mental health. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I would love it if you would share your journey to being diagnosed with bipolar and what that's been like.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Any excuse to talk about mental health, and I am in. The more we talk about it, the less stigma there is around it. And it helps normalize it, which is
Yeah.
really important. Like you go to the dentist every 3 months or so. Most people don't go to a psychiatrist ever. You take care of your teeth, but your brain and your emotions, like people just don't think that it's as necessary. But I really, really think it is. So when I was I think had just turned 20. We had a lot of stuff change in our life very quickly. We moved away from the town that I had always lived in. I started a new job. There were just a whole bunch of changes. And I had never thought about mental health at the time because it was, Jesus, 2001.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
back then, it was still very, very taboo. If you saw a psychiatrist, people are like, well, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Like, yeah. So, but I had to see a psychiatrist because I had a few. I'm not sure if can I say suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I had a suicide attempt, and my parents drove me to the hospital where the people at the hospital admitted me onto the psych ward, and I was there for about 2 months. And I
Wow.
was diagnosed with depression, like severe depression. And so they put me on medication for that. And I went home, and about a month and a half later, things were much worse. And I tried to, well, off myself again. So back
Oh,
to the psych ward
no.
I went for 3 months. And that is when I got diagnosed properly. So the reason things had gotten so worse after the first stint in the hospital is because I was on the wrong medication. I was on pretty much the opposite of what I should have been on. And it was really, really messing me up.
When you were there the first time, were you there long enough for the doctors to feel comfortable with how you were reacting to the medication?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
But a lot of these sort of medications can take up to 6, 7 weeks before you see any difference. And I
Yeah.
was there for 2 months. So it would have been only like a couple of weeks that the meds were actually working in me. So it's very possible that they weren't able to see the negative effects because they hadn't really kicked in yet.
Right. Yeah.
So I came out of the hospital the second time on one medication, and it was helpful. And I had been like assigned a psychiatrist while I was in the hospital, and he fortunately kept me on as a patient. So I've had the same psychiatrist for like 20 years, which is awesome
Oh, that's
because he knows
amazing. Yeah.
my whole history. So now I'm presently on 6 different medications. My bipolar is type 2 bipolar, which means it's sometimes called rapid fluctuating bipolar. So I have significantly more depressive and manic episodes throughout a year than somebody who has just bipolar.
Oh,
So
that's so
my meds,
interesting.
yeah. It's not as fun as it sounds.
Yeah. Oh, no, that it does not sound fun at all.
Yeah, so I am on, let me see, 3 antidepressants and 3 oh no, 1 mood stabilizer, 2 antipsychotics. And because of my meds, I am normal. Or as normal can be. I've never not taken them since I've been diagnosed. So I don't even know what life would look like if I wasn't medicated.
What was it like just backing up before that first hospitalization? Can you look back and see some major manic and depressive episodes?
Yeah, 100. Starting at about 17. So often
Okay.
people who have bipolar disorders, it takes, and it's not always the case, but it's often, it takes a traumatic event in your life to sort of kick it into gear.
Oh,
And
interesting. Okay.
so when I was 17, I was gang raped, and I
Oh
didn't
my
really
God.
put the two things together until my psychiatrist pointed it out. But after that happened, I started drinking heavily. I started self-harming myself, very promiscuous. Yeah, so very I was in a depressive and manic state, just up and down,
Yeah.
up and down, up and down. But
I
I
mean, that's such a
did
huge
not.
trauma anyway for anybody.
Yeah, so I didn't put the 2 things together, but my psychiatrist did, and he's definitely right. I am very
And
grateful that I'm diagnosed and that I'm medicated.
yeah, and alive. It could have, depending on the course that your parents or doctors or anybody took, it could have been so different.
Yes, definitely.
Is bipolar, so you had said like it takes a trauma to maybe like sort of kickstart it. Does that mean you already were predisposed to getting bipolar or having bipolar? It would have maybe happened anyway?
Yeah, this is what my psychiatrist has told me. I don't think it always is because of a trauma, but, like, it usually is. I definitely was predisposed to it, but,
Wow.
yeah, it was also the stuff that happened.
And do you know anybody in your family that has bipolar or
My
anything?
dad does, but he's undiagnosed. But I'm
Oh,
very good at knowing what the signs are because I have to
yeah.
constantly be checking in with myself. So, yes, definitely my father. He is more manic than depressed. So his manic episodes last longer, and he'll do something like decide to sell all of the cars that we have and buy all new
Right.
cars, or put the house up for sale without even consulting my mother more than once.
Wow. And okay, so for anybody listening that hasn't heard or isn't familiar with the term manic, how would you best describe that?
So manic is the polar opposite of depression. And that sounds like, oh, that sounds pretty good. No, it's just terrible. You feel like you've had 2 pots of coffee. For me, my hands always shake anyway because of the meds, but it's like I can't even hold a cup. I'm so jittery. Everybody feels like they're talking too slowly. The world feels like it's moving too slowly. I feel like I can accomplish literally anything. I have to be really, really careful because sometimes when I'm manic, I will make purchases that are just outlandish. And well, I can't do that. I'm a single
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
Afford
Yeah.
to, but that it affects a lot of people that way when they're manic. Some of the signs are not being able to sleep, overeating or undereating, like but to an extreme, spending lots of money, and being promiscuous.
Wow.
So be any of those things, and I had all of those things.
That's interesting. It must be so. Do you realize it when you're in it? Are you like, oh, okay, this is manic?
Yeah, it takes about a day for me to realize, oh shit, this isn't normal. I need
Yeah.
to do something about it. So when it happens, now for me, my manic episodes are usually only about 24 to 48 hours, and my depression can last anywhere from 4 days to a month. So when I'm manic at first, it feels really good. And then partway through the day, like it's not stopping though. And everybody is so irritating right now. And I don't even want to be around my
Yeah.
and then I clue in. And when I do realize that either I'm slipping into a depression or a manic episode, I immediately email my psychiatrist and let him know. And we often have to adjust the doses of different meds that I take. And then once I'm feeling more level, then we put the doses back to what they were before. But For me, it is so important that I have this relationship with my psychiatrist so that I can just let him know instantly. He gets back to me and we find a way to cope with it, if not make it stop.
So even though you're medicated all the time, you still have these sort of like manic and depressive episodes. They're just maybe more easily managed in the moment because it's just an adjustment?
Yeah, absolutely. If I wasn't medicated, I wouldn't be here anymore if I wasn't medicated.
Yeah.
Yes, but with the meds, still I have breakthroughs. Like depressive episodes that break through, which is why we adjust my meds accordingly and then put them back. It's a little more manageable.
And what was it like then getting that diagnosis? Were you like surprised, relieved, scared?
All of those things. Mostly
Yeah,
though, I was relieved
right.
because I knew there was something wrong with me. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And to get the diagnosis meant that I get to start working on fixing it or learning to live with it. So I know a lot of people are afraid, people I've spoken to are afraid to go to see a psychiatrist because they're like, they're going to diagnose me with something and I'm going to look like a crazy person. And
Yeah.
every time I hear someone say that, I'm like, but think about it. If they're diagnosing you, you already have this issue. You just don't
Yeah.
know it yet, or you don't have the tools to deal with it. Being diagnosed is like the first step to going on the right path.
And sort of normalizing or stabilizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And how was your family with it? So this must have been like a huge roller coaster for them because
Yeah.
it all sort of was triggered by an attempted suicide.
Yeah. They didn't take it as seriously as they should have in the beginning, I think.
Right.
They were sort of nonchalant about it, thought the diagnosis was too extreme and that I wasn't as bad as the doctors said that I was. But a lot of time has passed and they've been able to experience my many manic and depressive episodes. And they are definitely aware now that it is this extreme that
Right.
so they're now very supportive, which I'm very fortunate for.
And I wonder, I think our age is interesting because our parents grew up in a very like mental health was taboo or not as accessible. It wasn't talked about. And so I think our parents' generation really have a hard time just opening up and accepting. I feel like,
Yeah,
it's just like
absolutely.
everything when they were growing up, it just you didn't talk about it if you sought treatment or diagnosis at all.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, me being diagnosed sort of opened the door for both of my parents to think about and talk about their mental health as well, which has been great for them, for all of us, really, like myself and
Yeah.
my sibling. So it's been a good thing. Whether the doctor told me I had a bipolar disorder or not, I still had it. So just having a professional say that, it's not like they're turning it on. It's already there.
And so you were just in your early 20s sort of getting used to this. So
Yeah.
what was life like entering like the dating world? Was it a consideration? Did you even, I don't know, worry about it?
I didn't worry about it. I did usually if we made it to like the fourth date, I would tell them because if you're getting serious with someone who has any sort of physical or mental disorder, you do have to let them know. Or at least that's my
Yeah.
opinion. I think it's
Yeah.
only because it can be difficult to be with me if you are not educated on what to expect from someone with type 2 bipolar. My depressive episodes can look really scary to somebody who doesn't understand what's happening. So I do like to tell the person I'm dating pretty close to the beginning of the relationship.
And have you had any negative reactions about it?
No, I have not. I have not ever had
Wow,
a reaction to it.
that's really
Always
good.
I do remind the person that, okay, so we've known each other for like a month now, and I seem pretty normal to you. I still have had a bipolar disorder this whole time. So it's not as scary as it sounds because
Right.
you didn't even realize that I had it until I told you.
Yeah. And what does a depressive episode look like for you?
I start feeling, well, sad isn't even the right word. It's more like sorrow. And I don't want to be around anybody. I want to just lay in bed in the dark. The depression manifests itself very much physically for me as well. Like it's like my entire body is grieving for something. Like, it's just
Oh, wow.
so huge. I also start thinking that everybody is against me,
Oh,
especially my family and friends. I start to feel like they don't have my best intentions at heart. They are actually trying to sabotage me just in life. And
yeah.
once I'm on the other side of the depression, once I've come out of it, I automatically am like, oh, okay. Literally nobody is out to get me. This was all in my head. Yeah, it can be very scary and isolating, and it can feel like it's never going to go away. You will never ever be happy again.
Must be so scary.
It just takes over your entire life. For me, when I'm very, very depressed, I'll go 3, 4 days without showering because I can barely get out of bed long enough to use the toilet.
Yeah.
And I have a 5-year-old. I don't have time for that. I don't have
Yeah.
time to lay in bed for like 2, 3 days, or I can't just be crying for 24 hours. I have to hike up my boots and still continue with life. So it's very helpful that my parents are supportive about it because my daughter and I live with my parents right now. And the fact that I have such an incredible psychiatrist is so helpful because I can email him any day, anytime, and he'll get back to me very quickly.
That's amazing. I think one of the problems that I've noticed is with and specifically with the Canadian healthcare system, I don't know about other places, but you we get free healthcare, and so often, you end up with, say, a psychologist because 'cause you're in the hospital, but that person won't carry on your care once you've left the hospital, and then accessing resources, sometimes you're, like, bounced around just because you don't get one consistent person.
Yeah, 100%. The first time I was hospitalized, the doctor who ended up misdiagnosing me was not there when I was hospitalized the second time. So the
Oh,
psychiatrist that I saw the second time who correctly diagnosed me is the psychiatrist that I have now. I was
yeah.
very fortunate that he was still taking patients at the time because now he has a 2-year wait for new
Oh,
patients.
wow.
Yeah.
Do you find when you're in relationships or even with your family, do sometimes they outside people recognize that you might be slipping into manic or depressive before you do?
Yes, almost every time.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
The way I describe it happening is like if you put a frog in boiling water, it's going to jump out. But if you put a
Yeah.
frog in a pot of cold water and slowly bring it to a boil, the frog will stay in the pot until it is dead. I'm the frog in the cold water. And generally, my friends and family are able to be like, hey, your water's boiling. You need to do
Oh.
something.
And how
Yes.
is that received? Do you feel insulted about it or hurt by it?
Never, never at all. They always do it with my best intentions in heart at heart, and I always appreciate it. Even if I don't feel that that's what's happening, I still appreciate that they're paying attention for my best.
Yeah. And do you know, is it hereditary? Like, does your daughter have a higher risk of getting a diagnosis?
That is what I've been told. Yes, it is possible.
And so are you doing anything to, I guess, like, she's only 4 or 5 now, like, monitor her or talk openly with her about it?
Definitely, we talk openly about it. Right now, generally, when somebody has a bipolar disorder, it doesn't sort of manifest itself until their later teens. So we'll just keep an eye on her. And I will most likely have her see a psychiatrist probably around 14, maybe 15, just for a checkup. Just because,
Yeah.
you bring kids to get their eyes checked and their hearing checked. I want to have her brain checked too.
Yeah, I hope we're moving in a direction as a society that that's just what you do.
Yeah,
Like, you see a doctor, a dentist, an eye doctor, and a psychologist or a counselor.
yeah, no,
'Cause you only have one brain, you gotta take care of it. You only get one.
for sure.
Yeah. And is there any stigma around it that you've heard or faced?
The only real thing that there's one thing that really, really bugs me, and mostly about the media, is the way that bipolar is sort of made to be a bit of a joke when
Mm,
somebody is acting rationally or they're being very moody. Someone's like, "Oh my god, she's so bipolar." And
right.
that's not what it is, and I just feel like I don't know how to describe it. It's perpetuating this thought that people who have a bipolar disorder are crazy, and that's not the case.
Yeah, it seems I don't know at what stage as a society we decided to take derogatory terms, like make, like that's so gay.
Yeah,
Like why did that ever become a thing? Or the R word or like why was that ever used in a humorous or like
yeah,
insulting way? Another thing that we had talked about maybe touching on, and we're kind of shifting gears, but I think it's also perception and experience is sort of like dating in a plus size body.
yeah, definitely.
And yeah, that's something that you've talked a little bit about. I guess what has been your experience as I don't know if it's just like as a single person in a plus size body or as a lesbian in a plus size body
It's
entering
kind of
the dating world?
Yeah. So when my husband and I ended our marriage, I dated men for 4 months after that, still thinking I had to find a man. I had to be with a man.
Yeah.
That's just the way the world works. And I was very self-conscious about being plus size. So I would send full body shots so that not saying that this is why I wouldn't tell them that this is the reason that I'm doing it, but it was so that they would have a good idea of what I really look like, because I was so
Right.
concerned that we're gonna meet, go out for coffee, and they'll be like, "Oh, wow, she is 50 pounds heavier than I thought." Because I find men talk about female bodies very flippantly. They can be very, very insulting even without realizing it sometimes, and sometimes they're just
Yeah.
dicks. Um, since coming out, I have not had one woman make me feel that way. Yeah, and
Ugh, women are the best.
they are. And I've been dating women since June, I think, June, last June. Yeah, it is totally different. In fact, I get a lot of compliments on my shape now. And my marriage, one of the things that he would like to say, just to be unkind, is that he's not into chubby chicks. But we were together
Ah,
13 years. He
yeah.
knew what I looked like before we got married. So
Right.
he also did things like he told me that he almost said that his work Christmas party was not having guests, just the employees. And he told me this on the way to the Christmas party. He said he was embarrassed and he didn't want his coworkers to see how fat his wife is.
Oh
So
my
he
god.
didn't do it, but he chose that time on the way there to say that to me, which obviously made me feel like garbage. And I just didn't even
Yeah.
want to get out of the car once we got there. So there was a lot of emotional abuse in regards to my weight.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to work through it because it's still always top of my mind. Who could find me attractive? Nobody will find me attractive because that's what I had been told for a
Yeah.
very long time. So it's honestly every time somebody compliments me physically, I feel like they're just being really kind. They don't actually mean it. And that's just because I have trauma that I have to work through still from
Yeah.
marriage. But dating women, honestly, I find that women build each other up so much more than being with a man. No man would ever do that, that I have
Yeah.
met. At least like when I'm with a woman, she makes me feel like my body is being adored, and it is such a good feeling. It's really nice. I still do send a full body shot though before we meet. I think I will probably always end up doing that. It's just in the back of my head. I don't want to see a look of surprise and disappointment on their face when I first walk up to them.
Right. And yeah, you pinned a TikTok about that and I thought it was really interesting about like does anybody else send full body
Yes,
shots as a way
exactly.
of yeah, and like what a world we live in that, like with online dating and
Yeah.
filters and like photo manipulation with posing and things
Mhm.
like that 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 is a consideration that because we've been maybe treated poorly or reacted to negatively that
Yeah.
you feel like you have to do that.
I flat out refuse to use filters on my TikToks because I want that to be my authentic self, and I want to be the same person in real life when you meet me as I am when I'm on my lives on TikTok.
Right.
I want to, yeah, to accurately represent myself. So that means flaws and all.
Yeah. I find it so interesting that, at what point I mean, this really ties in with that stigma and beliefs is at what point do males start learning behaviors like objectifying women's bodies or using a woman's body as a weapon and, how you talk about it versus
I
women who maybe have, the reason we lift each other up is because we are objectified from a very,
mhm.
very young age.
Yeah. I've noticed that probably because my daughter's 5, but I've noticed a lot of kids, especially young boys, when they do something like pull a girl's hair or trip her or something like that, often the adult who's there will just say, "Oh, boys will be boys," or "He's just
Ah,
being a boy." And that
yeah.
is telling both the boy that it's okay to act like that toward a girl, and is telling the girl, "Well, he can't help it. He's a boy, so you just have to deal with it."
Yeah.
Um, and so,
And
yeah,
like that's so dumb.
yes, it is. It is really, really dumb.
Like
Yeah,
in short, that is dumb.
you're setting them up for failure in future relationships.
I remember like being chased by a boy in elementary and the teacher being like, "Oh, he just likes you."
Yes,
And
all the
like
time. It's always
now if
fresh.
it yeah, like if a human chased me because they liked me, I'd call the cops.
Yes. Yeah, and maybe pepper spray them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, all we can do is do better with this next generation of little humans that are growing up and change the language that we use around like mental health and bodies and relationships and gender stereotypes.
Yeah, for sure. I find sometimes you'll be watching a movie or something, see something on TV, and I'll say like, "Oh my god, she looks so awful. What is she thinking with her hair like that?" And I've had to stop doing that because, well, one, it's just toxic,
Yeah.
but I don't want my daughter hearing me or anyone criticizing a total stranger on their appearance.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
something that I have to consciously not do all the time. Even though the person can't hear you, it's still tearing them down, and that's not okay. So,
Yeah, and we shouldn't look at any other body and feel the need to make a comment. Like who
yes,
are we to make a comment?
yeah. And you don't
Yeah, I
know
think
the reason a person might be overweight. I take
yeah.
6 different bipolar medications. I don't stand a chance of not being
Right.
overweight. Every single one
Right.
of them has a side effect of weight gain. Yeah. You never know what somebody else is going through. Like maybe they're not, you know, this slob that just sits and eats chips all day and doesn't move.
Yeah, that's really like even in my like the way that I think society reacts to me. Like I had to go to urgent care the other day because I have some random unexplainable foot pain that makes it really hard to walk right now.
Wow.
And I I hesitated going to urgent care because I just assumed that I would be looked at like, well, I mean, if you lost a bit of weight, like obviously it's because you're lazy. And like that was me talking to myself. And my partner was like, you literally cannot walk. Like, don't you think you should maybe get that looked at? I didn't want it to be questioned about does it have to do with my body size? And yeah, like that's just so messed up. Like, I know that that sounds so messed up.
No, I've been there. I fully get what you're talking about. I have severe arthritis in both of my knees. I only have 10% of cartilage left in one and
Oh,
12% in the other. Up until about a year ago, I just suffered in silence. Only close
oh,
friends and family knew, because
yeah.
I was convinced that it was my own fault for being overweight, that because I was overweight, I wore away the cartilage. And I was so ashamed that I would just take a whole bunch of pain meds and power through. And then I realized, why the hell am I being ashamed is not helping anything at all. Telling people I love that I have this issue, it does make it so that it's difficult for me to do some things. It's so much
Yeah.
better that they know for myself and them. So, Man, I totally understand what you're saying about thinking that your weight, that they may negatively judge you because of your weight and say that that's your, it sucks.
Yeah, like,
Or,
it's
oh,
dumb and it sucks.
yeah, yeah. But I'm learning to love my body. So, and you know what? A big part of how being able to learn to love my body is all of the positive feedback that I get on TikTok from followers just about me, about my appearance, but also like my personality. It's just nice to hear nice things and it really builds you
Yeah.
up. And I didn't
Yeah,
have
I
that.
think we need more of that.
Yes, definitely. I'm the sort of person who, when I'm out in public, if I see somebody and I love their hair, I will go up to them and say, like, "Oh my God, you have the most amazing hair." Because I feel like generally people only discuss the negative stuff. You don't often
Mhm.
get a random compliment, but you could very easily get bitched out by somebody.
Yeah,
Just
and
real
who
quick.
knows, that one comment might be the nicest thing that person has heard all day or in a while,
Yeah,
and, like, why
100%.
not bring a little sunshine? I know even Michelle and I've heard her make negative comments about her body in front of her kids, and I'll be like, "If you could just not talk about my best friend that way?" And I
Yeah.
try to really shift it, and it sort of, like, lightens the mood, but sort of gently reminds her that, let's change the narrative and talk about the good things about our bodies.
Yeah, you are so correct on that. I myself don't speak negatively about my body at all in front of my daughter. I'm
Yeah.
very conscious of that. She is extremely healthy, but I remember when I was about her age starting to think, I don't want to get fat. I don't want to get fat.
Yeah.
And I really, really don't want that for her. All those negative thoughts at such a young age, at any age, really. But I do try to be kind to myself when I'm around her. I'm pretty sure I've spent about a third of my life on some sort of diet.
Oh,
Um,
I know.
that third was miserable.
Yeah, it has I have memories of my mom and grandma, talking about if you can pinch an inch, that's where you need to lose weight, and
Yes.
my grandma, when I would stay with her in the summer, she'd be like, "Okay, well, I'll buy you these pizza pops, but it's 1,200 calories for one serving. And, you should only eat 1,200 calories a day." But I was only 11 maybe at the time. And, that was just her doing her best because they were thick into the unhealthy side of weight loss culture.
Yeah.
But, like she just didn't want me to be overweight. And she thought that that was the best way to educate me.
My mom
Yeah.
was on so many different diets when I was growing up, and starting at about 12 years old, I think, she started putting me on the same diet that she was on whenever, so, like, Weight
Oh.
Watchers, Jenny Craig, whatever. I mean, I was going through puberty. Every kid has a
Yeah.
chubby
Oh,
butt.
yeah. Like, you
It
literally have to get a little chubby before you grow taller, like, that's the way
Yeah,
it
exactly.
happens.
So I just from such a young age, I felt like I was being told I wasn't good enough the way I was, that I
Yeah.
needed to improve my appearance for other people's sake. Man, that really sticks with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah, I even remember being in high school and doing Weight Watchers, and if I
Mhm.
knew I was gonna go out drinking, I would only eat, like, 0 point foods, which consisted of, like, celery and cucumbers to, like, save up my points to use them on
Yes,
rye.
I did the same thing. Oh,
Like,
man.
what? It's so bad.
Yeah, even in my 20s, I did the same thing.
I feel like you should write a book. I feel like you have so much insight into so many different areas and your lived experiences. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's ever said it, but I feel like you should write a book.
When I do my lives, whenever there's, like, a
Yeah.
lull for a minute or something, I'll think of a story, just a funny story from my past and tell my followers, and every single time I do it, I get all of these comments on I do tell a good story, and I do make
Yeah.
money. Maybe a book is a
Yeah.
good idea.
This could be it. This could be it. Well, that's amazing. I'm so glad that we were able to connect again. And like I said, we should just have you back all the time because we have so many, I don't know, just so many things that we could chat about.
Yeah, have me back anytime you want. I love it. It's super fun. This time I was kind of all over the place with topics, so I apologize for that, but it was really
But I
fun.
think they all kind of flow together. It's like this
We do.
lived experiences and fighting like bias and perception and language, right?
Yes. Definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
it's all important stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's our mission with the podcast is just to, like, have conversations with people about things that they've been through and lived through because that may somebody's gonna listen to it and feel less alone every single
Very well
time.
said. Yes.
Well,
Always
Teresa,
very
thank you so much for joining me today and, just being so candid and open and honest. It is invaluable. It is something that is so needed in this world.
Oh, that's so lovely. I am more than happy to do this with you. It's really fun, and there's some topics that I feel we really do need to talk about more, so it's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope you have an amazing day and we will talk to you really soon.
That sounds great. Alright,
All right.
bye-bye.
Bye. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, darling.
Oh my God, there was such a delay there.
Was there?
But like the camera froze and then you just like popped right onto the screen. It was funny. Yeah. Teresa, thank you so much for coming back on our podcast. I
Mm.
think I'm always so flattered when a past guest agrees to come back because that tells me that they had, at the very least, a good experience.
They weren't like, oh
And
my God, I'm never doing that again.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's good.
I feel like I could just like we could chat with her for hours because she has
Absolutely.
so many relatable and good stories.
Yeah.
And I edited a lot of it. I think I edited all of it out, but her little daughter who just turned 5 was in the room. And
Oh,
every now and then she would come up and just start talking. And then she would just start talking to me. And she told me how she just turned 5 and it was her
oh,
birthday.
cute.
It was really cute. Well, my voice is starting to feel not great. And so
No.
this will be a short outro.
Yes.
It's too much. 7 days of it. Like, I'm over this.
I mean, yeah,
Who
it's
do I
not,
talk to?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you should talk to Trump because he said it wasn't really that big of a deal. So I really think you're maybe just
Yeah,
exaggerating.
I just need to suck it up and drink I'm obsessed with lemon cucumber water. I think because I
Oh,
just like have my throat is so irritated and it
yeah.
just is like so hydrating. I cannot get enough of it.
Oh, amazing.
But anyway, I just want to do a little shout out to everybody who's listening. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Where can people find us online?
They can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. And that's
Oh
it.
yeah, also we're on LinkedIn.
Oh, we're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
on
that's nice.
LinkedIn. And yeah, all of our episodes post to there. It's so funny. I also put us on Pinterest and Tumblr,
Okay.
but I actually don't understand Tumblr.
I do not understand Tumblr. I also don't
Somebody,
understand Reddit.
yeah, no, I don't know.
No.
Reddit, I understand if somebody like sends me a Reddit or when I'm like, oh yeah, that's funny because I understand the topic, but I don't know how to go into Reddit and navigate my way around.
No.
It's over my head.
Yeah, I can't do it.
So yeah, I mean, we're not active over on Tumblr or Pinterest, but we're there.
But we're there.
So
There you
find
go.
us if that's your space and you want to, then find us. I'm excited to have you back.
I know.
I'm
I'm
excited
excited to
to
be
be
back.
doing interviews with you again. I hope that everybody has a really great week.
And I hope that you feel better.
Yeah. Anywho, give us a follow. Go join us on Patreon.
Okay.
Oh, God. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.